Hey, what's up guys? Thank you for tuning in to another video. My name is Ramon, also known as Black Ranger on social media. And right now I'm going to be going through how I edit my pictures and shoot my pictures using my iPhone 7 Plus and the VSCO or VSCO, depending on how you pronounce it, iPhone app. I'm sure this also applies to Android, so if you're on Android, this should also help you. And this picture that you see here was something that I posted on my Instagram stories. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram to see all my posts, videos, or any updates that I do have in the future. And a lot of you guys sent me some DMs saying you wanted to learn how I edit and shoot in VSCO. So here it goes. First thing you're going to do is open your VSCO app, and notice on the bottom left hand corner there's a circle that says RAW. You're going to want to select that circle so that on the top of the screen you get the square that says RAW. This just means you're going to be shooting in RAW. Here I'm taking a picture of this building with some graffiti. I'm going to tap on the building, then tap on the sky. I just kind of want to see what looks better in focus. I wanted the building to be in focus, so there I shot that image. Now I noticed the building in the back was also something that caught my eye. And with this, again, it depends on what you like to shoot. I like shooting mostly people, but buildings also interest me a lot. So I got here, there we go, my parked car updated location. So I tap on the building itself so it gets in focus, try to position it so that it's kind of straight. Tap on the building again, make sure it focuses, taking those couple shots, and we got them there. Once inside the app, you can long press to make that photo open up large, and if you click on that left icon there with the lines and the circles, it'll go ahead and bring you to the editing portion of VSCO. Here you see there's a bunch of presets that I already have pre-installed. Most of them I've purchased, others were free. You kind of want to see around what you like. For me, C8 is one of my favorite presets, and in this slider here you can apply the effect if you want it to fully be affected, or lower down the effect. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it all the way up. Now if notice here on the bottom left it says raw exposure. It's gonna be showing you because you shot in raw, you have more you have a wider range that you can move. So you're going to want to edit the exposure to fit your liking. The contrast, I'm going to add a little bit of contrast to that. And now this part here, the skew, I'm going to want the building to look as straight and tall as possible. Before that, it was looking kind of slanted. And once I've straightened it up, I'm going to go ahead and straighten it horizontally. Once doing that, we're going to add some sharpening so that the image can look sharp. I usually don't go all the way with that. With the clarity, usually I don't use it a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and use it just a little bit on this image here to give it a more, I don't know, like a raw type of look. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the saturation. You don't want to go all the way because then it looks too exaggerated. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of color there. Next, we're going to go into the tone. Here we have the highlights and the shadows that you can add. So the highlights, if something's too bright on the highlights, if you bring that slider to the right, it's going to bring the highlights down. And the shadows, bringing them to the right, will bring the shadows out. And I did just a little bit there. With the white balance, it was looking a little bit blue, so I'm going to go ahead and move that slider to the right. And then here, I'm going to the skin tone. This is usually when you're doing portraits. It just changes the skin tone quite a bit, so I'm going to leave that as is. Vignette, I'm not going to add much vignette. What that does is adds a circle, kind of like a dark circle around your image. I'm going to leave that alone. The grain, this is what a lot of people like. I like the grain as well, so I'm going to give it that full blast of grain. Next we have the fade. This kind of gives the shadows up, it turns them kind of white, and it gives it this cool little vintage effect. I'm going to just give it a little bit. Here we go to the shadow tint. And the shadow tint, it's this is what kind of defines you. This is what I think it's kind of like coloring. Two people can be coloring a book, and it'll look completely different depending on your mood or whatever you're going for. So I usually like to pick a color, then do it to 100% or that 10 there, and then I start bringing it down a bit until I get the desired look that I actually want. Let's see, these reds were too high, so I'm bringing them down, and you can kind of see the shadows turning red and reducing red as I reduce that little bar there. So once I get the look that I want, I go ahead and set it there. Then you want to click that check mark to save it. And that's pretty much it, the split tone. So next we're going to move on to the downloading process of it. We're going to go ahead and download it. You're going to want to select actual size, and that's going to leave the photo in your gallery. Okay, moving on to this next image, it's going to be the one of the buildings. Again, we have all these presets here. You can, depending on the mood that you're going for, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the the C category here and select which one I like. And then the raw exposure, you can bring it down again. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and bring it down just a little bit. We don't want to go too far. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and leave it at, all right. And then the contrast, again, you're gonna want to bump it up a little bit. Again, with the straightening, you want to make sure that it's straight, the image is straight, but also notice the buildings in the back look kind of like they were slanted. So you want to move these sliders around until you get the image to look upright, to look normal, kind of like you saw it with your own eyes. Sometimes your phone can be tilted, or you're positioned wrong, so you get these weird skew effects on the image. Once you get that, again, the sharpening, we're going to add quite a bit of sharpening here. Then we're going to go to the clarity. Don't want to add too much. We're going to probably add just a little bit there. Saturation, there's a lot of graffiti here, so we want to kind of bring those colors out, especially in those palm trees in the back. So we're going to go ahead and slide this a little bit to the front. And now these highlights and shadows, the highlights don't really bring down, but they do bring some blue in the background, so I'm going to leave those up. Shadows, we don't really need a whole bunch, so we're going to leave it at 0.5. Next to temperature, it was looking kind of blue or kind of cold, so we're going to warm it up a bit. We're going to move it to the right, and then just it brings out those palm trees a lot more. And then the tint, it goes from green to pinkish or magenta, so we're going to go ahead and just put it more towards the green, just so it can make the palm trees pop out a little bit more. Now we're going to go ahead and add that grain. Then the fade, as you can see, it looks pretty nice. It gives it that old or rusty look, so we're going to just add just a little bit. Now we're going back to the shadow tints and the highlight tints. We're going to go ahead and select. I really like this blue here and this magenta pink, so I don't know which one to decide just yet. I'm actually going to go with green, just to bring out those palm trees. Now I'm looking at the highlights. The highlights are going to go ahead and change mostly the sky. Usually I like to leave that in blue. So the shadows here, they were choosing green. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down because I don't want it to be too exaggerated. Same with the highlights, we're going to bring it down. We don't want too much of that blue sky. We want to leave it natural. And once that's set, you're going to click save on the top right. Then you're going to go ahead and share it and save it to your gallery. Now if you go over to your photos, you're going to go ahead and see, okay, inside your gallery, you're going to go ahead and see your images there at the bottom. Once you select them, you can even zoom in, and you can tell the quality of the raw is just way better if you, instead of just shooting a regular image using the camera app that came with your phone, you can zoom in and actually see some good detail, see the shadows. The highlights are really good, especially once you edit it and add your own touch to it. You're gonna love how this looks. So that's that image. We're gonna go ahead and look at this one. Here, look, you zoom in, there's detail, and especially if you don't like that grainy look, you can remove it and you'll get much more detail. This is just how I like it, so I add the detail of the grain and it makes it look a little bit different. But if you can see corner to corner, that detail is amazing. The iPhone 7 Plus and 8 Plus or the X have amazing cameras, so you can do a lot of work just off of your phone. This is that original image. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here as well so you can take a look. There's a lot of detail in the shadows and in the highlight areas. Same with the colors, they're crisp and it's popping. So that's just how you're gonna go ahead and impress your followers on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're sharing this on social media. As you can tell there, look, I caught a plane in the back. That's pretty neat there. So that's just one of the apps that I use for my Instagram. It's VSCO, VSCO. It's been around for quite a couple years now, and it's grown quite a bit. I've had it for a while now. Before, it was just kind of like a filter thing you added to it and minor adjustments, and they started getting way better with the adjustments, the ability to shoot in RAW, and everything has just been improving. I hope you guys get a chance to check out the app, even if you don't purchase any of the presets. And with some of the tools that I showed you in this video, you'll be able to create certain looks without the presets. If you guys want to learn how I get cinematic footage, you can go ahead and click on that video on your right hand side. It's going to take you to my previous video. If you want to learn what type of tools I use or what's in my camera bag, you can go ahead and click on that video on the left. And in the center, you can go ahead and click and subscribe if you haven't already. And like always, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video. If you do have any more questions, you can always go ahead and leave me a comment down below or send me a DM directly to my Instagram. Again, that Instagram is @BlackRanger. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.